Welcome back to another episode of Mystery Tales from the Heart of India. Picture this, the narrow lanes of South Kolkata on a sweltering June evening in 2015, where the monsoon air hangs heavy with secrets and the old colonial houses whisper stories of forgotten tragedies. At 3 Robinson Street, a 4-story mansion stands silent in one of the city's most prestigious neighborhoods, its windows sealed with tape, its rooms shrouded in an eerie darkness that has persisted for months. Inside this house, something so disturbing was unfolding that when it finally came to light, it would shock the entire nation and earn comparisons to Alfred Hitchcock's most chilling masterpiece. This is the story of Kolkata Hitchcock House, where a brilliant software engineer named Partha lived for 6 months with the decomposing remains of his beloved sister and 2 pet dogs serving them meals, talking to them daily, and sleeping beside their rotting corpses in a macabre devotion that defied all human understanding. Welcome to a tale where love transcended death, where mental illness transformed affection into horror, where a family's tragic end became India's most haunting real-life psychological thriller. The discovery began with what should have been a routine police investigation. On June 10, 2015, firefighters rushed to 3 Robinson Street after receiving reports of smoke billowing from a bathroom window. Inside, they found the charred remains of 77-year-old Arabindo D.A., a retired director of Alfred Herbert Limited, who had apparently set himself ablaze in his bathtub. The scene was horrific enough. An elderly man final desperate, act in the privacy of his own home, but investigators had no idea they had stumbled upon something far more sinister lurking just a few feet away. Deputy Commissioner C. Murladhar arrived to question Arabindo's 44-year-old son, Partha Dea, a former software engineer who claimed to have worked for Tata Consultancy Services in the United States. Partha appeared calm, almost eerily composed as he answered routine questions about his father's death. But something about his demeanor estranged detachment. An unwillingness to make eye contact raised red flags among the investigating officers. "Where is your sister?" the officers asked. "We're told Debyani lives here too." Partha's face cracked into an unsettling smile. "My sister is here," he whispered. "She's in my room. She's been resting for a very long time." What the police discovered next would haunt their memories forever. Following Partha through the dimly lit corridors of the sprawling mansion, they entered a bedroom that felt like stepping into a nightmare. The air was thick with an indescribable stench that seemed to cling to their clothes and skin. In the corner of the room, on a single bed covered with a grimy blanket, lay what appeared to be a human skeleton. Surrounding it were dozens of plastic tiffin boxes filled with rotted food, rice, curry, sweets, and an array of teddy bears positioned like silent witnesses to this macabre tableau. In another corner of the same room, the officers discovered the skeletal remains of 2 large dogs, their bones scattered like discarded toys. The windows were sealed with masking tape. The air conditioner had been running at full blast for months, and strange music played softly from hidden speakers, haunting melodies that seemed to echo from another world. Partha stood in the doorway, watching the officers with a childlike expression of confusion and hurt. "Why are you disturbing her?" he asked plaintively. "Debyani is meditating. She doesn't like to be interrupted. I bring her food every day, just like she likes it." As the investigation unfolded, picture emerged of a family that had slowly descended into madness, isolation, and despair. The family had once been prominent members of Kolkata's intellectual elite. Arabindo was a successful industrial executive. His children, Partha and Debyani, were both engineering graduates from prestigious institutions, and they lived in a magnificent 120-year-old property in one of the city's most exclusive neighborhoods. But tragedy had struck repeatedly. In 2005, Partha's mother Arati died of cancer, sending the already introverted family deeper into isolation. Partha, who had been working abroad as a software engineer, quit his lucrative job in 2007 and returned home to care for his aging parents and unmarried sister. The family gradually cut ties with the outside world, relying on a security guard to bring them food and refusing to communicate with relatives or former friends. Debyani, once a vibrant music teacher at Don Bosco School, had become increasingly spiritual and reclusive. According to Partha's fragmented statements to police, she began following the teachings of a self-styled godman, advocated extreme fasting as a means of achieving spiritual enlightenment. When the family's two beloved Labrador dogs died in August and September 2014, Debyani was devastated and decided to undertake severe penance. For 3 months, Debyani consumed nothing but water, gradually wasting away while her family watched helplessly. Partha later told investigators that he and his father had tried to convince her to eat, but she refused all food, claiming she was communicating with divine forces. On December 29, 2014, she died of starvation in her bed, weighing perhaps half of her normal body weight. Unable to accept his sister's death, Partha made a decision that would define the rest of his tragic life. He refused to inform authorities or arrange for cremation. Instead, he wrapped Debyani's emaciated corpse in a blanket, positioned it on his bed alongside the remains of her beloved dogs, and began what he believed was a sacred vigil. For 6 months, Partha maintained this ghastly routine. Every morning, he would prepare fresh meals and arrange them carefully around his sister's decomposing body. He would sit beside the skeleton and talk to it, updating Debyani on family matters, sharing his thoughts and fears, and maintaining the fiction that she was simply in a deep, meditative trance. He sealed the room's windows with tape to contain the smell of decay, kept the air conditioning running continuously, and played recorded spiritual music. The most disturbing aspect was that Partha managed to hide this horrific secret from his father for months. He told Aurobindo that Debyani was undertaking an extended spiritual retreat and must not be disturbed. It was until late April 2015 that Aurobindo broke into the sealed room and discovered the truth: his daughter had been dead for months, her body reduced to bones, while his son maintained an elaborate delusion of ongoing life. The shock drove Aurobindo to complete mental collapse. Police found evidence that he had been contemplating suicide for weeks after learning about Debyani's condition. Faced with the horror of his daughter's death, his son's obvious mental illness, and the family's financial problems, the elderly man chose to end his life in the same bathroom where firefighters would find his charred remains. When Partha was arrested and taken to Kolkata's Pavlov Mental Hospital for evaluation, psychiatrists diagnosed him with severe schizophrenia and acute delusional disorder. Dr. Rajashri Bendiopati explained, "Partha suffers from a thought disorder that makes his imaginary world seem completely real to him. In his mind, Debyani was alive and simply in deep meditation." The case took an even more disturbing turn when police discovered numerous handwritten notes and diaries scattered throughout the house. These documents revealed the family's gradual descent into isolation and paranoia, with members communicating through written messages even when they were in the same room. The forensic investigation confirmed the bones were indeed those of Debyani, with cause of death determined to be starvation. Meanwhile, 3 Robinson Street became a macabre tourist attraction. Media dubbed it the Hitchcock House after Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 thriller Psycho. Crowds of curious onlookers gathered outside the property, and the house's market value plummeted despite its prime location. After spending months in psychiatric treatment, Partha was eventually released and purchased a new apartment in the Watgunge area, using proceeds from the eventual sale of the Robinson Street property. For nearly 2 years, he lived quietly in his new flat, maintaining minimal contact with the outside world. But the demons that had driven his family to destruction were not easily escaped. On February 21, 2017, in a tragic echo of his father's death, Partha Day was found dead in the bathroom of his Watgunge apartment. Like Aurobindo, he had set himself on fire using petrol and matches. Closing the final chapter of one of India's most disturbing family tragedies, the Robinson Street property was eventually sold to developers for 20 crore rupees, though locals still refer to it as the Hitchcock House. The case raises profound questions about mental illness, social isolation, and the failure of community support systems. Here was a prominent family living in one of Kolkata's most prestigious neighborhoods, yet their gradual descent into madness went unnoticed by neighbors, relatives, and authorities. The Hitchcock House case illustrates how society often fails to recognize or respond to mental health crises until they explode into public spectacle. The De Family's story serves as a chilling reminder of how mental illness can transform love into obsession, grief into delusion, and family bonds into chains of mutual destruction. So I ask you, in our increasingly disconnected urban world, how do we identify and help families sliding into isolation and mental illness? When does privacy become dangerous silence, and when should concern override respect for others' boundaries? The Hitchcock House stands as a monument to collective failure, a reminder that behind closed doors, unimaginable horrors can unfold while the world remains obliviously indifferent. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if this haunting tale moved you, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell, because next time we'll explore another story where reality proves more terrifying than fiction. Till then, stay connected, stay compassionate, and remember, sometimes the greatest horrors are born not from evil intentions, but from love that has lost its way in the labyrinth of a broken mind.